All right, we're live. Welcome to Flow State after party for the stream we just did on Zenzennial's channel. The link is in the description box below, and we're gonna discuss politics a little bit. Just fair warning, my internet is being fucky right now, so we're gonna give it a shot. And if I turn my camera off, it's because I'm trying to get less stick. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but it's been acting up for at least 2 days. So
I've been in a similar position about the last month. I feel your pain.
Say that again.
I've been in a similar position with my Wi-Fi for about a month. I feel your pain.
Whew. Man, I was doing good for a second, and now it's rough again.
You know what? Maybe I should check mine. I mean, I've been having similar issues as you. It could be me.
I think it's mine. I'm pretty sure it's mine. It's telling me I have a weak connection, and it was doing this to me yesterday. But if there's anything you can do on your end that might lighten the burden on my end, by all means, go for that.
What I mean, I can't really change resolution or anything from like the client side, I guess. You want me to turn off my camera?
Sure. I can't get you at all. You're also.
How about now? Are we any better? Just going podcast style?
Yeah, that's a lot better.
Okay, well, let's do it.
All right. So y'all don't get to look at our faces, but shit.
Let's see if I can probably find a. While you're talking, I'll find myself a little picture here.
Okay. So we are, for lack of a better phrase, on opposite sides of the political belief spectrum. I, as you can see by my name, love freedom and don't desire that anybody be locked in slavery to a government bureaucracy. And well, how would you describe yourself? I'm more right and he's more left, kind of in a nutshell.
Yeah, I'm basically as far left as you can get, but still believing in the whole Constitution. You know, I don't think we should. I don't think we need to. I think it's a perfect document. It's just the people. You know, the system. The system has the right concepts in place. It's the people that run it that fuck it up all the time.
So do you believe in redistributive policies?
I thought you were going to go with redistributed wealth, but how do you define redistributive policies?
They're policies that redistribute the wealth.
Well, we kind of, basically in a capitalist system, the type of system that we operate under, where it's basically survival of the fittest. If we don't want San Francisco's happening everywhere, then, which I understand is kind of ironic because California is this cesspool of government bureaucracy.
Right.
I have no way to defend. You know, California, to me, I don't know how. You know, I don't know too much about their politics. I'm in Michigan. I just know that it's all messed up over there.
Don't you think that's a good test case for how far left policies work out?
Well, I think those kind of cases are good because you can learn from them, right? It's okay. Well, we let California run amok over here in this way, shape, and form. So, what lessons can we learn from that? Right. So,
for me, the takeaway would be to not do liberal policies.
Well, and it's not more. It's a little bit more than just straight up like politics. I think, you know, we have a severe mental health crisis in this country, and that can kind of get tied back to, you know, healthcare. And I think if we had a better handle on our mental health care, we wouldn't have homelessness run amok as it's happening now.
I agree that we have a mental health situation in this country. I'm well, in the world. I guess I bet that we disagree in the proper way to handle it. I'm of the opinion broadly that the powers that be are what got us into the situation that we're in, and that you don't want to ask for solutions from the source of the problem. So any government policies that aim to, say, address healthcare, mental health, are inevitably going to fuck things up worse, because we can see that they always do. Every good thing has an after effect that's worse, like housing, like easy affordable housing access under Clinton gave us the housing market bubble. Easy, accessible student loans has given us a generation of indentured servants with useless degrees. And we can see that for every solution we demand of the government, there's a bigger problem coming later.
Yeah, and I actually agree with you. You're not going to find me putting any neoliberals up on any pedestals. I'm more of a Bernie Sanders lefty, rather than, the explanation for the housing boom could be, I think you probably care just as little for the smoke filled rich and corrupt as I do. And these are all just, our system is just opportunity after opportunity for the well connected. And we basically live in an oligarchy.
We do.
And
I agree. We do. And I just put this up on screen just for some background. I do have a degree in economics.
oh, nice.
So this is the angle I come at it from always.
Okay.
Well, it's just my perspective on things, I guess.
Sure. So in your perfect world, if you could flip the switch, how do we take care of the mental health care crisis in a way preferable to you?
I consider myself an anarchist, and not like a Black Bloc comic kid anarchist, but like a true anarchist. I think that the only way to have a properly functioning society is to have actual freedom and actual equality, and also the corresponding actual responsibility that comes with it. I think that needs to be an individual responsibility and a community-wide responsibility. The problem is that we've been trained to lean on the government for all of our needs, instead of being able to rely on our family and expect to help them back. There's not the community support that's truly looking out for the interest of the individual. There's it's a parasitic government support that is only interested in helping the individual. Well, isn't interested in helping the individual. Poverty is a huge industry. So these
Indeed.
right. So I guess in my perfect world, there is no government, there is no law. There's natural law, or basically, start no shit, take no shit, sort of thing. But
So how do you feel about, in that respect, how do you feel about like hippie communes?
I am just fine with them. I mean, I personally don't tend to get along with hippies great, but
I use that in kind of a
Yeah.
descriptive way. But
So-
basically, in an anarchical system, as you're talking about, you're going to have your hippie communes, and then you're going to have your, like neo feudalists,
I
where
like hippie communes as long as they stay truly voluntary and free. I suppose the impression I've gotten is that wherever communes are started or tried, they rapidly turn into tiny little dystopian empires. Jim
yeah,
Jones
I
sort of
kind of
thing.
feel like that's like the natural evolution of not having something like the Constitution to fall back on.
Well, where does the Constitution, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just, where does the Constitution get its authority? Like, what is it about the Constitution specifically that's so? Because I agree, it's a fantastic document. It's a shame that we don't follow it hardly at all anymore. But where do you think its authority comes from?
It doesn't have any authority at all. It's basically mankind has to evolve to these basically a position of agreeable disagreeableness, which is kind of like the opposite of where our country is going right now. We are incapable. We're further and further becoming incapable of having bipartisan agreements due to groupism. And
I'd say that it's worse than that. We're incapable of even thinking about things reasonably and logically much of the time.
yeah, I almost feel like we're in such a stressed state that everybody is looking for like the biggest, like the solutions get more grandiose and strange because we keep getting stretched more and more and stressed more and more.
And why do you think, how do you think we got here?
Agreed. The system of politics that we've evolved into, like lobbying is important for like nurses and teachers, right? Lobbying isn't important for oil industries, that type of thing. We need like a civil type of agreement to where our politicians aren't going to be bought and sold. It's almost like America was doing so good for so many generations that we just got kind of lazy and stopped questioning everybody. We're the country of fuck you authority, right? But we got so lazy in our success. We just got too lazy in our success as a society, and we let these fuckers run amok all over us for 2 generations straight now.
And yeah, I guess I tend to think that we've never been nearly as free as we've thought we have. Just now it's sort of out in the open. Income tax.
Like what kind of freedom? Like, okay, so taxes. Taxes or theft is what you're.
More than that, mantra? I'd say that income tax in particular is slavery, because if your tax is 100 or is based off your total income, then who has authority over your total income? The government does. So what you really are getting, you're not giving them a portion of your income, they're giving you an allowance by determining how much of your production you're allowed to keep.
So but that is an exchange of services as well. We have fire, we have emergency rescue.
It's not it's not a voluntary one. They do things, but I promise you, if I could quit paying for the police and being subject to it, that would have been fantastic.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so it's not an exchange of services. They do things that with the money, and most of it's not actually in the benefit or interest of the people or the individuals paying for it.
Yeah, and I hate to beat a dead horse, but it goes right back to the people, right? None of what we've been talking about is the Constitution is fucked in this way or that. It's the people running the show. I've always said I have no problem with the government. I have the problem with the people in the government. We need some kind of societal structure. That's why I can't ever go full anarchist with you. I just, based on historical precedent, we need some general law of the land that everybody is going to agree to abide by, or else you're just going to end up with mini tyrants running around creating their own states and warring with other neo feudalists. And It would just be a disaster, I think.
I agree tentatively. I guess I don't see the reason that I'm an anarchist is I don't see how you can have government that doesn't end up getting abused. And
no secrets. That's how. No secrets.
I mean, but even then, so what? So there's all sorts of blatant law violations that our public officials do every day, and it's not secret. But at the end of the day, there's nothing that we can or are so inclined to do about it. When you give, and I think it comes back to morals. Like I'm still working out this problem and solution, but where I've got now is I think that the problem is that we are an immoral culture. Our morals have been debased. And when you debase a group's morals, you're left with a bunch of selfish, conniving individuals, and that's a weak society.
So, what gives your morals authority? Like in the same context of the Constitution, what gives the Constitution? What gives morals authority?
I think that I don't think that morals are subjective. Ultimately, I like the core of them. I think that norms and customs are maybe cultural, but it's negative rights. Do whatever you want as long as it doesn't directly impose harm on other people. So
yeah, that's a good one. I've always believed in that. I just don't see harm. I don't cross that line into taxing as harm. That's basically.
Is it coercive? Voluntary exchanges. So is it anytime a party to anything is being coerced or forced or is not voluntary, then that is not morally right. So the taxes is theft, just like tax, rape, all this stuff is involuntary. That's how you
know. It's all force, right? It's all force.
Right. So how is that different?
Well, how do you? Well, that's just the thing. Is how is that going to be enforced?
What? And I guess that's the question, isn't it? So if I suppose that I could concede a little bit of government existence ground if I thought that policing could be contained to defending people from being oppressed, but I don't think it can.
On that topic, first and foremost, I want to say the phrase defund the police is fucking stupid, and the left always comes up with the stupidest, idiotic catchphrases in the world. They're T.I. Polar on the left.
No, I think
defund the police is a terrible, terrible catchphrase, and I want to ask you, because I know you're a little bit anti-authority in that way. Wouldn't you see it as better if we had more of like a community service type responder and keep the police for more serious business?
Yeah, no, I hate the police, and I would love to, under any other circumstances, I would love to defund them and get rid of the motherfuckers and get rid of the war on drugs. But
because defund doesn't really mean defund; it just means change those funds to community service responders.
It does mostly mean defund in a lot of large ways, though. If you take it to the end, they really do mean defund much of the time. But
I'm sure a lot of them do, and I don't agree with them.
The problem with the community-based idea is that it really then, when you bring mental health into law enforcement, when you bring a social worker into court like that, now you have a very scary reality where they'll just tell you you're insane if they decide you're insane. You got a social worker determining your fate, and since it's medical care that's court ordered, there is no end to it. There is no sentencing day where it's like, you know what, if I get popped with this drugs, at least I know I'll be out in 5 to 10. It's just like you're in until you're cured.
Well, I would imagine in this hypothetical future we're talking about, the war on drugs is over.
Why would you imagine that? They have no defend the police people have proposed ending the war on drugs. They just want to swap out psychiatrists and social workers for
Well,
cops.
I think that's something that we all overlap on,
I don't
except
I don't
for like the the serious Jesus folk. I think everybody
I don't
except
think
the
that you should assume that, because they have not said that at all. I think you're wrong, and I would not just kind of assume that those are lumped together because it makes sense. I think they're yeah. I see
wait.
why you would think that, but I think it's the
I can't
wrong.
elaborate, but I just had a brain fart.
Sorry.
I need you to remind me.
Okay, so you were saying that you think everybody can agree drugs should be treated different. The war on drugs
No,
should be ended,
not everybody, but except for like evangelicals.
and
Like no, that's basically it. I think
and the people who profit off it, the government, the prison industry.
well, yeah, but that we just had prison reform. I think that was the only bipartisan thing they got done was prison reform. But in my perfect world, and I think in yours as well, there isn't a war on drugs because, like you said, if you're not hurting somebody, then what's the problem? There shouldn't be laws against hurting yourself unless it's affecting other people, right? I mean,
Well, no, you can't do that because everything affects people in ways that you can't predict or know about. I think that once you do that,
but is it force? Like in that
no,
case, is that force? Or am I exerting? Am
I
I
mean,
as the unstable person exerting force on somebody else if I'm hurting myself?
no, yeah, and I would say that absolutely no, you're not. It may hurt other people indirectly, but I mean, if you commit suicide, it's for sure going to hurt your family. But
Yeah,
that is still you making a decision for yourself about yourself.
yeah.
And that's a poor example because I think suicide is the most selfish thing anyone can do. But
Well, I can assure you, and I know they're not talking about it because it's there's so many other things they're talking about. I can assure you, the war on drugs is a very high priority. Ending the war on drugs is a very high priority in the minds of people on the left. You just don't hear it.
it is not
In the same ways.
I promise you it's not, because I was looking for it. I was looking for any defund the police movements to have any of these things. They have lists and lists.
Well, that is kind of if we defund the police, then they can't enforce the drug laws, right? And then they kind of by default they fall away.
You're helping make connections in your mind that don't exist. I'm telling you, these connections don't exist, and what is the reason for that? I think it's intentional.
Well, I guess we need to. Why are you so sure? But it's kind of like the same thing. You're not hearing that's what they're saying.
I've looked for it on their websites, on their list of demands. Each little movement has listed demands that they make to the mayor of the city. Like, I've looked, it's not there. They'll have demands 30 items long. Everything from expanded unemployment coverage to teachers get blowjobs every Sunday. And they never mentioned the war on drugs ending.
Okay, well, I'm at feeltheburn.org. Bernie Sanders on drug policy. Bernie Sanders sees the war on drugs as a costly, destructive, and ineffective policy. Current drug laws have not worked.
I wasn't really talking about Bernie so much. Yeah, Bernie did want to end the war on drugs, but I wasn't really referring to him since he was not a relevant person this last go around. I was talking more about the defund the police crowd. They're the ones. Yeah, the left does want to end the war on drugs, or at least they say they do.
Yeah, I assure you, pretty much everybody does, except
but
for
the defund the police movement specifically does not include it, and I don't at all for a second believe that that's accidental. I think the defund the police movement is a Trojan horse, and they want more police in fucking police state. They're just going about it in a slick way.
So maybe you're thinking there's some type of infiltration into the leftist groups.
Oh, there absolutely is. That's not even hidden. The leftist groups are Marxist. That's not speculation. It is. Open.
But who are the infiltrators?
Well, who isn't Marxist at this point? It's not infiltration. I mean, it was, but
To be honest with you, I don't know if I'm Marxist or not. Do we have to tear up the Constitution for Marxism?
Yes, they fly.
Well, I'm not then.
Well, but that's what Bernie's a socialist. That's Marxist.
He's a democratic socialist.
What is that? That doesn't mean anything. It's just window dressing.
It does. Well, the way I view it is basically we vote. We as a society decide: do we want the government to use force on us for taxes? Right. I'm trying to speak the language here.
That sounds like democracy.
It is, but at the same time, it's not, because we have this. This is where I get stuck, because I have to process my thoughts too much. It's why I don't do too much of this kind of thing.
Oh, sure. Take your time, and I know that I get fired up. And a good SE tactic is to sort of blitz introverts.
It's rather than like trying to explain what specific concept. I don't know if there is a concept. We have these generalizations. What I know is that Jeff Bezos paying $0 in income tax in 2018 is about the most unconscionable thing I can think of when it comes to that type of situation.
All right, let's dissect Bezos, because I agree. I abhor the man, and it's the only company that I unflinchingly have boycotted for a long time, for several years. And I encourage everybody else to do the same thing, and don't shop at Whole Foods either, because they own that shit.
So is there a little part of you though? Is there a little part of you that you try and punch in the face that admires him for not paying taxes?
No, because it's not, that's not capitalism though. The reason Amazon is able to be Amazon at all is because he's plugged in with government. All these monopolies that exist only exist because private enterprise is able to leverage the authority of government.
For sure.
And that's what Bezos did.
Well connected in smoke-filled rooms, man.
So then you would want to eliminate government, because selfish people will always try to exploit the power. So you need to get rid of the power so that they can't exploit it.
Oh, I just had a strange epiphany, and this might sound like complete stupidity. What if we went with a maximum wage, and instead of the government keeping the leftovers, it was evenly distributed to the populace?
So why? Here's the problem, and it's more conceptual than specific on that question. So I'll come back to it if you want more specific answer. But my conceptual issue with that is that wealth, and I think it's the more important response, wealth is not zero sum. And the leftist approach to redistributing wealth is very zero sum. But that's not how it is, nor how it should be.
Yeah, see, I don't want to actually redistribute money either. I was kind of throwing out just a hypothetical there. When I think about redistributing wealth, I think about continuing to attempt to shore up the system to where we're redistributing healthcare, right, instead of wealth, and instead of the poor county over there getting money, they get free healthcare.
I think that free healthcare is the worst idea, because the healthcare.
But a healthy populace is a productive populace.
And our big pharma healthcare industry is the most corrupt industry.
That's why we just if we can figure out a way to nationalize that.
If we nationalized healthcare and gave people free healthcare, all we did is give big pharma a blank check. Now they can do whatever they want because the taxpayer's paying for it and it's guaranteed.
Yeah, no, but
That
if what about changing up like the shareholder system, right? That seems to be the biggest problem. And people, it used to be a myth that there was a fiduciary responsibility to shareholders. Do you know if that, as an economist, is that law? Do companies have a lawful fiduciary responsibility to put their shareholders first?
no.
What the fuck is that all about then?
I mean, it's assumed that they will, or else they'll lose their job. And they do put their shareholders first, but they prioritize the major shareholders, not you and me.
So as an economist, how could we tighten that system up to where it's just not all profit, 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 and everybody else gets fucked?
Um, I think that the easiest way, well, maybe not these. One way would be is if we have not enforced our antitrust laws in this country in centuries. If we could truly prevent monopolies from forming, that would go a long ways. But the way that
Yeah. Why not take the force off of the people? Is it okay to apply force upon corporations? I know the Supreme Court said corporations are people and fuck Citizens United and that whole business, but can we at least do that? Can we put more force on corporations to stop this type of system?
I think that if my I guess my answer to that is more mechanical than philosophical. I don't think we can do it because our regulators, the people who regulate this sort of shit, the SEC, the FCC, the bank examiners, they are not, nor are they ever going to be operating at as high a level as the people they're supposed to be regulating. When you get a bank examiner, a bank regulator, like I was in banking, so it's an easy reference. And banking is the most regulated industry in America, more than healthcare. The bank regulators, they're basically middle management bureaucratic cops. They go through and they check off to make sure you have the right documents on file, but they're never going to be the type of people who are able to manage the derivatives trading. The people that are really able to rip off the world, they just can't be managed by a bureaucratic process that's behind. The stakes are too high and the it's too fast. And at the end of the day, the regulator and the regulated, the job pools overlap. So you work on one side, you work on the other side. It
Man,
becomes
how
monotonous.
such a double-edged sword. I mean, it's the most regulated, but that sounds a lot like the problems we're having with like university administration and where just administrations and regulators in general are flooding the markets and
Flooding.
they're clogging up the works and costing way too much money.
Exactly. Which is a cornerstone of big government and bigger left government. Bureaucracy just gets bloated.
So here's where I think it's a double-edged sword, though. And as an experienced person in construction, you should know how important codes and regulations are when it comes to architecture.
I agree. I do.
So how do we manage that line between the correct regulations and the wrong ones? Even though the wrong ones appear correct, we just maybe we let it go or something.
I would suggest that the real preventative force is, as far as doing shoddy workmanship, like so that a building collapses or something. Not that the building in Florida collapsed and it was demolition, but I think that the free market will handle that because you as a builder, I mean, there's
Well, you know
contractors,
that you can build something that'll you can make something shoddy that will last long enough for you to get out of Dodge. You can do 10 years of shoddy work and then take your money to Tahiti.
But people live for 10 years as a small world. There are enough parties involved in, say, the construction of a large building that, and if everybody's personally, if people aren't just following the government checklist, but are personally, know that they're going to be accountable to make sure these are up to snuff as part of their professionalism. I think that does more than it gets credit for.
Like building regulations, that type of thing.
I mean, building regulations are one thing, and I won't say that they're not valuable, but I will say that I don't think, especially with larger things like this, like a bridge. However, if you're building a bridge now, the government pays for it. The government's in charge of quality controlling it, in charge of those specs. Who's paying for the infrastructure here? They're going to want to get their money's worth.
Who's paying for what infrastructure?
I mean, I'm just saying hypothetically, if there's no government codes,
Yeah.
then, and hypothetically there would also be no government revenue.
Well, yeah, that's always been the question: is who owns the roads, right?
So if the government when the government builds a bridge, the government's in charge of inspecting the bridge, because it's their money. But we all know that government, when the money's free, it matters less, right? When you earn the money, it matters more. I would say that whoever's paying to build these bridges are going to make sure that they're built properly.
Well, I would hope so.
I would hope so too. And at the end of the day, we can't end danger or assholishness or poverty in the world through some sort of system. Like there's just not, there is no system we can go, oh, we just need to implement this and then everything will be solved. That's not how that works.
Well, maybe it's not too far around the corner. Do you ever think about the future, like what we discussed earlier, like the technological singularity or anything like that? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think it's absolutely terrible, and I won't be joining it. They can come find me living in a refrigerator box in the alley or something, but I'm not.
So you're a Terran of Terra of the Earth. You won't even put a speaker in your tooth or something so that you can get you don't have to hold your cell phone to your head anymore. Nothing like that.
No, in fact, I'm much more inclined to get rid of the cell phone altogether and go back to a landline.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just think about how we as individuals have had our freedom of speech, say, treated by tech so far.
I don't see that as freedom of speech.
Why?
Only the government can. I only have freedom of speech as the government's concerned. It's basically the cake baker argument that we had in Colorado 5 years ago, and we on the left had to throw up our arms and say, "Okay, fine, we lost."
But it ceases to become freedom of speech when Facebook was founded with government cheese. Mark Zuckerberg did not start it in his dorm room organically. One, it's founded with government cheese. Two, it's operating as in a monopolistic way. There is not competition allowed. We saw that with Parler. With Parler, they squashed Parler out.
I think Parler squashed itself out when it got hacked, didn't it?
No,
when it was exploited as it was proven to be exploitable.
No, it was on Google's servers. Google owns basically all the servers on the internet. It was on Google's servers. Google kicked it off,
right,
and then blackballed it from other smaller hosts.
Yep.
So
now, isn't that the same as the baker saying, "I'm not going to bake your cake"?
It would be if it was a free market, right? If it was a free market where somebody else could bake you the cake, that's fine. But if the baker's saying, "I'm not going to bake you your cake," and nobody else can bake cakes, now we got a problem. That's what
I don't know. Well, I guess it's kind of like ironic that I have to say, well, start your own and have at it.
That's exactly what I'm saying, though, is Facebook and the tech giants are not allowing you to start your own. And I use Parler as the example. Parler tried to be the free speech thing that Facebook wasn't, and it got.
Well, don't they just need a cloud? I mean, it's basically they can't stop anybody from making a cloud, right?
Sure, they can.
How?
Because the internet infrastructure is what? It's these big huge server farms are owned by somebody, mostly Google, some Amazon.
Well, yeah, get the last living Koch brother to build a server room.
Right. See, so there's so it sounds like you're conceding that there's not actually a way to start your own. They've already got it monopolized. Big tech is monopolized, and the cloud is just a server. It's just somebody else's server. It's got this name that makes people think it's up in space, and it's not somewhere. It is somewhere. It's on a drive, and
yeah. Yeah, no, I don't want to pretend like I'm standing up for corporations or anything, but I basically learned this lesson with the Colorado baker, and I was wrong then too. I'm here to admit it, that at the time I was using my emotions when I was saying they should bake the cake. But when it all shook out and I had to look my cognitive dissonance in the face, it's the correct thing to do. A corporation is a private entity, and they should have the right to run their business any way they want. And if it is a monopoly, then yeah, we need to fix that.
I agree with that. We're on the same page there. The problem isn't so much a private company censoring people on its platform as it is the private company is preventing other private companies from operating.
I kind of see that in a way with like Amazon, where they're Amazon and Walmart, where they have such a huge inventory that they can basically price out everybody.
Which is kind of underhanded, but I mean, I don't know if you're hearing me. Parler tried to be the free speech alternative. Google kicked them off the internet, basically.
They kicked them off their servers.
And also smaller server operators would not pick them up because they had been told by the big boy not to pick them up. That's not free market. So we're not operating under a free market system anymore here.
Well, it is a free market system because it's only private marketeers fighting with each other.
The cornerstone of a free market is free competition. It's not private property ownership. It's free market competition. So
imagine what it would be if there was no, let's take the government right out of this. Now Amazon and Walmart completely and utterly stomp everybody else's face in.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because one, they wouldn't have gotten this big. None of these mega fucking corporations are organically grown. But primarily because in the case of Parler, they would not, how would they have been able to enforce the blackball? If there's no government to leverage by the big boys, because
I'm not convinced the government enforced that upon Parler. I think we were saying that Google and Amazon teamed up and said, we aren't going to help these people. But they were private businesses who did that together.
But the private businesses told other private businesses also not to help them. Now, what gives Google the authority or the power? Where's the power come from for Google to tell a smaller server what to do? It's not from free market economics. It's from government corruption, basically. They're the size they are because they're in bed with the government.
Yeah, probably. But I just don't know if that changes the fact that they got the size they are and they are who they are. And, whether the baker gets a government loan to build his business, does that mean he's part of the government too? If the government helped him build his business?
No, I mean, not.
I know that's kind of a fucked up question. It was a little rhetorical, and I apologize for it.
No. Actually, that's a good question because it does start getting down into where's the line between government and non-government. And I would say that if you've got an SBA loan, any small business can apply for an SBA loan, right? But when you're starting out, are you familiar with DARPA? Because a lot of these tech companies are founded out of DARPA.
A little bit, yeah. A little bit.
Yeah. This is the internet itself
Yeah.
the huge cables that run under the ocean that carry the internet. This is all DARPA stuff. This is all set up by U.S. military funds. So, and the winners in big tech are the ones sort of chosen by the military industrial complex with government cheese. They just pretend it's not at all capitalism, free market capitalism. I don't even look at it personally as private money, even though technically it is. I don't view it that way. And I guess that's the problem. When you have a small baker, they're truly an independent operator. And if they're playing by the same rules that everybody else is playing by, that's a different thing than if you've got this government megalith that's dressed up as a free market operator, when it's absolutely not. Like Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. How many fucking Silicon Valley bazillionaires are they going to tell us just dropped out of college and started this thing in their garage? It's crazy. They just all these fucking smart little nerds just make these gigantic corporations out of nowhere. You can too.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes me wonder, do you know anything about American Standard and Rockefeller and all that stuff that went on?
Yeah.
How is that? Is that any similar to what's going on now? Is there any way to say, hey, look, we've already done this before. Here's the answer, or is it different?
Yeah, no, it is similar, and I guess I don't see. We've had monopolies in this country forever. Jacob Astor monopolized the fur trade in the U.S. Filthy fucking bastard. Rockefeller monopolized oil, and then monopolized healthcare. The current healthcare system is the Rockefeller pharmaceutical system. All of our problems come out of this monopolization, which is the only entities though that can force shit on people are government institutions. So the only reason that Rockefeller could monopolize the healthcare is because the government's in charge of licensing.
Well, so let me ask you then on that topic a little bit. If obviously we can't flip the whole switch and make huge sweeping changes, right? The world has to operate at a pace.
Right.
Why not embrace the idea of collectivism and the citizenry owns the labor? Remove the profits from the shareholders and put them in the employees of the company. Go back to employee-owned systems. Make it lawful, right? No more smoke-filled rooms. These are employee-owned companies.
Okay. Yeah. One, we can look at history and see we have a very active history the last 150 years of that sort of system trying to stand up and then it ending in decimation.
Well, it seems to always end up in people getting conned. This happened at my company where large, rich shareholders came in and said, hey, we'll give you a whole bunch of money for your employee-owned shares. And the people were like, oh, shit, let's cash in. But it really wasn't cashing in. And now the company's gone to shit ever since.
The concept of collectivism is the group good over the individual good. So the first thing that has to happen is you have to, as an individual, have to give up your right to what you think is good. You give up you give up some personal freedom for some group and for more group freedom back is the exchange. But what happens is whoever gets all that given up freedom doesn't give it back. I mean,
it's possible.
It's
Washington.
It's conceptually possible. I would argue that it's not actually possible unless we evolve into a different species entirely. But humans are flawed and greedy, and I mean, even it's just an impossible situation. I don't even know that we can say that some of these dictators, some of the Stalins, are worse people than anyone else. If you believed in the ideology of collectivism and that the state knows what's right, if this is your belief and your ideology,
no, I don't. That's not it at all. I don't believe in that.
Huh? I'm just saying the general you. I wasn't talking about you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, but like with Stalin, for example, if I'm Stalin and I actually believe the Kool-Aid that I'm serving up, then I'm justified actually in defending the state against people who do not view it the same way as I do. You see what I'm saying? So I think it's just human I don't think that you just can't have a system that does not respect individual rights, but does it for you. You know, it's kind of upside down thinking. Well, there he go. What's up in the chat? You like that? More Vedic. Yeah, the Pledge of Allegiance is strange. I agree. Yeah. And it's a lie. There's not liberty or justice for all. Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I assume that he'll be back. He I don't know. He just kind of dropped out, so we'll see. It's not very free, and it is very brainwashy though. It's kind of depressing how many people in America actually think we're free. You're not free. You're not free to do what you want with your body, and you're not free to decide what you do with your money. You are a slave. Yeah, this. Hey guys, this. If anybody is not subbed, and you 13 people aren't subbed yet, we got this getting close. Somebody needs to push me up over the hill, or somebody just needs to make some more Google accounts and sub off other channels. I would do it myself, but I just don't enjoy those sort of wins. Winston's mom does have a very broad knowledge base. She's also quite enigmatic. You know what's even more absurd than forcing kids to do the Pledge of Allegiance is everything the Pride crowd is doing with kids right now. Did you guys see the rainbow dildo butt monkey? You guys know what I'm talking about? I just hold on. This fucking thing. Hey, welcome back.
Hey,
Hold
yeah.
on.
Internet service provider just completely took a dump for a minute there.
So while you're gone, I was holding it down. Oops. There we go. I was saying how I've about had enough of the fucking pride shit between this the library hiring this shit, and there was the Convert Your Children song from the Gay Men's Choir in San Francisco. Did you hear that? I don't know, man. Like, I'm down with equal rights. What I'm not down with is any sort of sexualization of children, and I get a little fed up with some of this shit. Anyways,
I'm just running. I didn't have the comments open. Or the same reason why I had us muted in my thing for so long is because I have this. I have to not look at chat when I'm engaging with people, or else, you know, I don't. You're not getting my full attention, and I miss shit, and that's why.
I'm the same way. Yeah, no, I gotcha, and I feel that for sure. Tell me to shut up if you want to read the comments and catch up or something. But I tend to just bullshit my way through it a lot, and I don't I don't prefer that. It's just what it is.
No, actually, it looks yeah, it looks like I didn't make too many people cry. That's nice.
I need it. All right, so it looks like I'm one short from 1,000. If wherever you guys are at, go get your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your little brother. Go tell your mom to subscribe to Flow State. Everybody,
you know what? I have a second YouTube account. I'm doing it right now.
My dog. But still, y'all should tell your mom to subscribe to Flow State. Text her a link to the channel. She'll love it. It'll be her favorite shit. So tell her to turn on the notification bells too. I'll send her dick pics.
Bam, you're there, brother.
All right. Woo-hoo. Now what do we do?
Now I think you'll get some options that open up in your creator studio within like the next 7 days, is my understanding. Nothing's going to happen. Like, they're not going to flip a switch right now, but it'll take about 7 days, and you'll start getting the ball rolling, I think, with new options at your disposal.
Sweet.
Fucking A, man. That's awesome. I'm so glad I'm here for it. Congrats, man. Fucking A, congrats.
Yeah, I actually didn't think that the channel would make it to 1,000 because I just say I just say what I want to say, and a lot of it's contrary to the preferred narrative. But
I know how you feel.
I was almost there, but I had a strike roll off, and so now I'm out of like the brink of death zone. So, all right, well, that's tits.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're talking about, but fuck it.
You know what? Yeah, fuck it. I don't want to talk about negative shit because something fucking really cool just happened.
You know what though? I think that even though it's like a negative topic, it's been a fantastic conversation because you got beautiful TI. You ask the right fucking questions.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, so I'd
like to say the same back to you. It's extremely I tell you what, it's so hard to get a quality conversation with somebody on the other side these days.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I spent the first 20 years of my life just having a fucking shit of a time on the internet, you know, half my fault. But learned a lot of things. And one of the primary thing was these conversations right here are the most important, because we can do it in a civil way, and we can do it in a respectful way, and in
a rational way.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty pleased with the fact that this is being viewed and then recorded, because it's way harder for me to to speak when I don't have an external, you interacting with me, basically.
Yeah, I agree.
Can't manifest these thoughts. That's not how my brain works.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've never had that anything. You know, obviously I'm polar any or whatever. I was shitting my pants earlier today when I figured out, oh, I might have to fill 5 minutes of time, and I pulled one out. I pulled one out and it worked out fine. But there's I think it was last week's live stream. I got down to the last question, and as soon as I hear myself in 5 seconds of dead air, I'm like, you're fucking it up. You're never going to think of something. So I don't even try, you know. It's like, okay, everybody have a good night.
Yeah. I forgot to tell you, before we started this, I went back and I watched the intro, and that was dope.
Okay, cool.
That was a good intro. I knew it would be, though, because the one that you did with each function kind of on your shoulder and NI is ripping the bong.
Yeah.
That one cracked my shit up. And when I saw that, I was actually in the car with an ISTP friend, and I showed it to him. He knows just enough. I've exposed him to just enough of it that he gets it. And
Yeah. Well, thankfully YouTube has that internal studio. We had about 10 minutes of you not coming through, and my shame is spreading through my body just thinking about it. But the good news is once it gets done processing, I'll be able to chop that little section right out, and nobody will know the difference.
You know what? We've all done that shit. I recorded a whole like 2-hour collaboration with I don't know where she went. ISFJ chick. What's her name? Anyways, she hadn't been around for a minute, but yeah, we recorded it was like 2.5 hours. And I forgot to push record.
Yep.
And there's like nothing more embarrassing than sending that message like, hey, I had a good time talking with you tonight.
Yep. It seems to be my issue. Mute buttons seem to be my issue, but it probably just comes with time, and you know, it'll become second nature to just go over those things. Winston's mom tells me I need a list. I'll get a list, and a
list would probably be good until you get the muscle memory.
Yep. And that's actually what will create it, you know. Watching that list, doing it 5 times, that's what creates the muscle memory, and then the list can go away.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that is not a bad idea, because you've got your interface setup is a bit more complex than other people's, but it's also in both ways, I'm sure, on your end and in its what it's presenting. I can't even get my fucking green screen lighting right.
Yeah, I kind of feel I've always I have a fair amount of technical experience when it comes to that kind of thing, and I know that my creativity is shit, so I kind of have to make up for it with, you know, a little bit fancier of a setup. I think that kind of helps me get back up a level from being so, you know, verbally uncreative.
I think that is y'all's creativity, though. I don't know. It's a weird. It's a difficult thing to explain, any polar sort of creativity, because my girlfriend now is an ISFP, and y'all are very creative but not inventive.
Exactly. It's I know what a good aesthetic looks like. So, you know, I'm borrowing concepts and then piecing and parsing things together to get an aesthetic that I know with my eyes looks good, but it's not, like you said, they're not necessarily creative.
Yeah, but yeah, that is one of the friendship benefits that I've always sort of leached off of my ISTP friends is they can get my shit. They can get the existing pieces compiled in a better way than I can.
Yeah. Those types of things kind of come easy, you know, like assembling all this technical material isn't really any different than assembling a physical structure, you know, that you've done a few times or whatever. I mean, you know how it is with I don't know, those kinds of things. I imagine it's similar with you. Putting things together just comes easy, you know?
Yeah, it
like
does.
Lego instructions, the funniest, it blows my mind the people who can't process Lego instructions because
I
they
know
are they're like the most
I
SE
know.
friendly thing ever conceived.
It's like, yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. That always blew my mind too. It's like you must just not be trying. Like I couldn't fucking believe. I really didn't believe that there were people who just couldn't figure out.
Yep, it's true. They're out there, and they have super strengths in other places, you know.
But I
yeah,
still don't understand. I still, you know, with these two ego functions, since we share those, like I can't see how anybody can live without being able to follow this rudimentary SCTI sort of.
Yep.
I honestly don't know how people can live without TI in their repertoire.
Well, sometimes for me it's a little frustrating, but ultimately I'm glad I got it. You know, it's kind of like having a giant hog. It can be a problem sometimes, but I'm glad I got it.
Oh yeah, there's nothing worse than hearing that it hurts. Like, well, do I speed up and get down or slow down?
Oh man, well I'm gonna end it on a pervert joke.
Well, thanks for coming on. Thanks for being here for the 1,000 subs, or thanks for being the 1,000th sub.
And thank you too.
And thank everybody in the comments.
Let's stay in touch and do this more often, brother.
Yep, we'll do it again. Be good, man.
You too. Take care. Bye, everybody.
I hang around for a minute. I don't know. Maybe I'll just end it. It's a nice round hour. All right, I'm going to end it. Good night, guys.